the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. And by this I mean that if you have enough data and you have enough computing power, you can understand people better than they understand themselves, and then you can manipulate them in ways which were previously impossible.
Welcome to today's current events in the world we're living in. I'm your host, Pastor Chris Morgan. Thanks for joining me today. In today's episode that I've entitled Big Brother Meets Big Data, let me explain, beginning talking about Big Brother. When I say that, at least in part, I'm referring to the surveillance state a government or regime uses to track and trace its people, leading to the loss of personal autonomy and ultimately their freedoms. In the past, the things that hindered governments and dictators from doing this was a way to monitor all its people. But today that has changed because of the technological merger with big data. Not only can a government have the ability to know everything about a person, but also the power to control everything they can do. What one owns, where they live, where they work, what they eat, what they can buy, and if they will even live. Now, if that sounds really far-fetched, read Revelation chapter 13, as technology and its power to control society will be a key driver to the beast system. We aren't there yet, but this is where all this is headed. Of course, these technologies aren't bad in and of themselves, but who uses them and what they are used for will ultimately determine their outcome, to either bless or curse, or to free or enslave people. So maybe the good question is, how did we even get to this place? One way is through the convincing sounding reasoning of the World Economic Forum and its leaders, who have been shaping the narratives through issues like climate justice, world health care, and a global digital currency. Big Brother and big data is just part of their solution that masquerades their real agenda, which is global governance. They know and openly say the masters of these technologies will be the master of the world, because they know those who control the data will ultimately control the world too. And for anyone thinking that this isn't what it's all really about, why then did the World Economic Forum applaud China as a shining model of how to transform the world, or maybe we should say it better, to enslave it? If this were a movie, it could be advertised something like this: coming soon to a nation near you, the new masters, the social credit score, a world in prison, or even blacklisted. But this isn't a movie. It's what the World Economic Forum and Agenda 2030 is pushing on their way to a new world order and a one world government. See it now for yourself.
In order to collaborate on a large scale, you need to convince everybody to believe in the same story. What really the engine of history is stories. And they don't even need to be true. Right. Some of the most powerful stories in history were fictions. Right. But you need to get everybody, or at least a significant part of the population, to believe in the same story. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
I think the chief value of science is power. Science is mainly about gaining power over the world. They use truth to some extent on the way to achieving power or to achieving order, but this is not their highest value.
Say more a bit about power. What do you mean?
I think science as an institution is interested in gaining the power, to gain control over the world.
Today, We have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale.
Yeah, I mean, everything is being digitalized. Everything is being monitored.
In this time of crisis, you have to follow science.
It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste, because a crisis is an opportunity to also do good reforms that in normal times people will never agree to. But in a crisis, you see, we have no chance. So let's do it.
No, I think maybe in a couple of decades, when people look back, the thing they will remember from the COVID crisis is this is the moment when everything went digital. And if this was the moment when everything became monitored, that we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian regimes, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly at all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin. Because really we haven't seen anything yet. I think the big process that's happening right now in the world is hacking human beings, the ability to hack humans, to understand deeply what's happening within you, what makes you go. And for that, the most important data is not what you read and who you meet and what you buy, it's what's happening inside your body. So we had these two big revolutions, the computer science revolution, or the infotech revolution, and the revolution in the biological sciences. And they are still separate, but they are about to merge. They are merging around, I would say, the biometric sensor. It's the thing, it's the gadget, it's the technology that converts biological data into digital data that can be analyzed by computers. And having the ability to really monitor people under the skin, this is the biggest game changer of all. So this is the crucial revolution, and COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin.
Not everybody will be able to upgrade themselves, and not everybody will have access to or have control over the new big data algorithms. Of 8 billion people in the world, the vast majority will stay just ordinary Homo sapiens, and they are likely to lose their economic value, their political power, their control over their lives. And we are likely to see an extremely unequal society in which a very small elite, either of upgraded humans or of those humans who own the master algorithms, like the Google algorithm or the Facebook algorithm.
So actually you're saying that the ones who are owning the data or have access to the data are the new priests somehow?
The new priests, the new kings, the new gods, whatever you want to call it, yes. Data is now the key to almost everything. It's the most important asset.
Now, in a way, this was a dream of dictators and totalitarian regimes throughout history, but they were never able to actually accomplish this. Even if you have a KGB agent following you around 24 hours a day, they still don't really know what's happening inside you. And technically, you can't have a KGB agent following every Soviet citizen around 24 hours a day because you don't have 200 million KGB agents. It's impossible. Now it is becoming possible. It's possible for the first time in history to follow everybody all the time. And it's possible, it is becoming possible to go under the skin. It's not just seeing where you go, who you meet, what you say. It's actually understanding what you feel and what you think, and understanding this better than you understand yourself.
In 2014, Klaus Schwab called for the Great Reset.
We need a Great Reset.
Which he positioned as the solution to the world's most urgent issues. The dark reality of Schwab's agenda is detailed in his best-selling book, COVID-19, The Great Reset. His endgame mission is to replace independent governance with a top-down controlled, one world government and a central bank-controlled digital currency.
When they say, you'll be happy, what they mean is, you'll be enslaved. That's why they're talking about a Great Reset. That's why they're talking about introducing this quasi-communist, quasi-socialist agenda.
Like most globalists, Schwab regards communist China as a shining model of how he intends to transform the world.
We now welcome His Excellency Xi Jinping. China has made significant economic and social achievements under your leadership.
Chinese influence on global affairs is growing. The founder of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, says that this is what motivated the group this year to invite President Xi Jinping to deliver the keynote address in Davos.
Schwab said Xi's presence was a sign of the shift from a unipolar world dominated by the United States to a more multipolar system in which rising powers like China will have a step up and play a bigger role.
I think it's a role model for many countries. But we have to go one step further. It's a systemic transformation of the world. Artificial intelligence, the metaverse, synthetic biology. Our life in 10 years from now will be completely different, and who masters those technologies will be the master of the world.
Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design. Not the intelligent design of some god above the clouds, but our intelligent design and the intelligent design of our clouds. The IBM cloud, the Microsoft cloud, these are the new driving forces of evolution. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. And by this I mean that if you have enough data and you have enough computing power, you can understand people better than they understand themselves, and then you can manipulate them in ways which were previously impossible. You know, the whole idea that humans have this soul or spirit and they have free will, that's over. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data.
Foreign powers can collect, store, and exploit biometric information from COVID tests.
U.S. intelligence officials tell CBS News that China is trying to collect Americans' DNA in hopes of controlling the future of healthcare.
China's test kits are a tool to help China compile genetic data.
The Chinese aren't the only ones exploring this technology. The U.S. is working on it as well.
The White House is ramping up its COVID response, announcing Americans can once again get free COVID test kits as concerns are growing over a rare...
Data is the most important asset in the world. Those who control the data control the future not just of humanity, but the future of life itself.
Everywhere she goes, Ouyang Haoyu is followed. What she buys, how she behaves, is tracked and scored to show how responsible and trustworthy she is. It's called the social credit system. A person's reputation is scored on a scale of 350 to 950. It's big data meets Big Brother, expanding how the government monitors, understands, and ultimately controls its 1.4 billion citizens.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
And information collectors are paid to report on their neighbors.
The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens. Among them is this journalist who got a little too close to uncovering corruption among high-profile party members. He was blacklisted. He only realized when he tried to buy a train ticket.
Once you're blacklisted, you can no longer get a bank loan, start a business, buy an apartment, or even send your children to a private school.
By using the mechanism of social credit, we'll be able to establish a blacklist of people. These punishments will serve as a whip to rebuild moral values.
And few here are willing to criticize it, something that may pose a risk itself for a bad score and the life that comes with it.
It may seem scary, but it's just like that here. We're used to it. And anyway, we don't have a choice.
China wants obedient citizens. Criticism or resistance among the population is virtually non-existent.
U.S. intelligence shows China is using advanced technologies like gene editing and brain control weapons to advance its military and to crush dissent.
You know, the evils that we are seeing today can maybe best be described in a portion of Scripture there in Daniel chapter 12, verse 10, where it says, "Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand." I trust you see today and understand. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11 tells us, "And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose or reprove them." Now, today again, we are reminded by the words of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who said, "Silence in the face of evil is evil itself." God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. So this is the very reason why I do the current events in the world we're living in. As I remind us today, this battle won't be won with weapons, but with God. God will win. What we must understand and must ask ourselves and make sure this one thing, we find ourselves in Him, in His Son, Jesus Christ, and then we too will have the victory. Well, I hope this has helped you today. I'm your host, Pastor Chris Morgan. This is the world we're living in, today's current events. I'll see you next time. I call you blessed.